Here is me thinking, oh, let's film outside, it's gonna be really nice weather. Cue the thunderstorm and rain. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all the books that I've read in the past month. I've read a total of 6 months in the book of May. No. I've read a total of 6 books in the month of May. I feel like I have some really important books to share with you, so I'm just going to get straight into it. So the first book that I picked up in the month of May was Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging by Louise Rennison. So I saw these on Jen Campbell's channel over the space of a few days. She read the entire collection, all 10 books, and these were a huge part of my childhood and into my very early teens. I was quite surprised to read that this was first written in 1999. I think I had it in my head that they were written quite a lot later than that. I'll leave a link to Jen's video down below so you can have a little look at what she thought. I then went ahead and bought all 10 books as well, as I'm hoping to get through them myself, just to see how I feel about them now, sort of 10-15 years on. I did enjoy it, definitely. If you aren't aware of this collection or the story of Georgia Nicholson and these diaries, is I think she's around 13-14 years old, and it's essentially her diary documenting her life at school. I would keep a secret diary and write very similar to her. I wanted to be her, I think, and I was so obsessed with the idea of my first kiss and things like that, and I feel like this was really the kind of preparator for that in my life. However, I did find a couple of things problematic, especially the fat phobia, something that I've struggled with my entire life, and it worries me a little bit that maybe it stemmed potentially from reading this or similar books around this time. And also there's some really negative things said about sexuality and that she really hopes that she will never be a lesbian. Louise Rennison could write humour so well, and her sarcastic wit really comes across in this, so I really did enjoy it. If you read these as part of your childhood as well, I would suggest rereading them and see how you feel. Like I said, I have bought the rest, so I'm going to be reading them and then report back to you and tell you how I got on. It was a nice nostalgia hit, but just a couple of things to be aware of. My Dark Vanessa is the next book that I read in May. So this is by Kate Elizabeth Russell. It's published by Fourth Estate Books and it came out earlier in the year. It's taken social media by storm, it's taken the book community by storm, and I have been desperate to read this for quite a while. Just before I start talking about this in more detail, I'm going to give a trigger warning for rape, sexual abuse, sexual assault, grooming. If any of that sounds like things that you're not particularly comfortable hearing right now, or you're not in a good headspace for it, then I'll leave a time code down below to where you can skip to where it will be a safe space again for you. So this story is about a girl called Vanessa Y, and she is a 14-year-old girl when she starts at a new school, and she begins a sordid love affair with her English teacher, Strain. The book opens told from the perspective of Vanessa at 32, and how fresh allegations of Strain's sexual advances on a girl was all over social media, and this other girl had explained exactly what had happened, and we see Vanessa's reaction to this, and it is very shocking. She is not happy with this other girl's claims, and it turns out that she's still in contact with Strain. Then we go back and kind of work through her life from the very start of the relationship to where it begins to break down, and then we're back in the present day. We get a very good in-depth description on how ultimately this relationship has destroyed Vanessa's life, even if she doesn't necessarily see it that way. Some of the very early descriptions, the very explicit descriptions of what they do together and what Strain does to Vanessa, is disturbing to say the least, and I thought that I would be okay with handling it, but there were a few times when I kind of had to put the book down and just give a little breather. I don't feel like they're drawn out for any kind of gratuitous reasons, a necessity to see how people in this situation, what they genuinely have to deal with. And this is all while she's still under the illusion that the abuse and the grooming was her idea, and it was love and it was romance, and you kind of see that slowly start to creep in to her subconscious and her mind that it's not, it's abuse, and that although in her mind she consented and she felt like she was in love with him, that just isn't the case when you're a 14-year-old girl and he is a much older teacher. I did feel at times there were a few clumsy lines is probably the best way to describe it. Not necessarily anything that took me out of the story, but I just found some points the writing was genuinely beautiful and had a poetic take to it, which I feel like mirrored the English teacher and Vanessa's obsession with the book Lolita very well. And also I felt like the end was slightly too drawn out. The conclusion was satisfactory, but I did feel like it went on slightly too long. Overall, I think it's stunning. It's difficult, and even now talking about it I get kind of a pit of unease in my stomach, which means that it really has affected me. So I would definitely recommend that everybody has a read of this. Enjoy feels like a very strange word, but I'm sure you understand I did definitely enjoy it, but I also didn't enjoy it, if that makes sense. Okay, let's move on to 2 crime books that I read this month. This is the first one that I read. So this is Louise Candlish's The Other Passenger, which is published by Simon & Schuster and is out very early June. Let me check. Yes, it's out in very early June. First of all, I really like the cover of this. I like the window with the little holographic. I'm just a sucker for pretty covers. Thank you so much to Simon & Schuster for sending this my way. So, I'm going to be completely transparent here. When I first started to read this, when I was sort of 20-30 pages in, I was like, I'm enjoying it, the writing's good, but I feel like I know what's going to happen. I feel like I know what the twist is going to be. I'd just like to quickly say to my older self that I'm an idiot. Oh my god, I was so wrong. So this story is told in first person by the perspective of Jamie, who is taking the London Thames River bus service every morning to work in a cafe in central London, and he takes that with his friend Kit. So the book opens in which Jamie disembarks from the river bus and is met by 2 policemen, and it turns out Kit has gone missing and Jamie was the last person to see him alive. From here the plot begins to unravel. Along the way we meet Claire, who is Jamie's long-term girlfriend, and we also meet Melia, who is Kit's girlfriend. We switch between the present day, in which Jamie is getting interviewed by the 2 policemen, and then we go back to see where this foursome kind of began and their extremely turbulent relationship, and through that the lies and the deceit start to seep out. I got to about here in the book and the resolution came and I was surprised by it, and I was like, we've still got well over 100 pages left. And then it kind of did a full 180 on me. I remember distinctly there was this point where I was like, I don't know where this story can go now, because I feel like we've resolved it and we're there and we're just going to see how that pans out. It flips the script and it does something completely different, and I was just hooked, and I sat and read the rest of the story from there out. I even did that thing where you see a reveal in the plot and you kind of like close the book and just have a second to compose yourself, and then you join back in. I love a difficult narrator or an unreliable narrator and unlikable characters. But yeah, it's absolutely cracking. Again, thank you so much to Simon & Schuster for sending me this. The next book is one you will have seen in my most recent book haul. If you haven't seen that video, again, I'll leave a link down below to where you can have a look. But this is The Catch by TM Logan. This was sent to me by Sapphire, so thank you very much. And this is out on the 11th of June, so again, very soon. So this centres around a character called Ed, who has a wife called Claire and a daughter called Abby. And Abby has found her perfect guy. She's found this guy called Ryan and she is in love with him. He's perfect. And we open at a little family party that they're having where they meet Ryan for the first time, and they have quite a big announcement. Abby and Ryan announce that they are going to get married. They've got engaged and they're going to be getting married within a few short weeks. And the mom, Claire, is so thrilled, she can't wait, she's so happy. Whereas Ed isn't so sure. He feels like Ryan is too good to be true, he's not exactly what he seems, and we embark on a mission to discover what is wrong with Ryan, and we follow Ed along the way and we try and discover what on earth is going on. I find this book quite difficult to talk about without spoiling it, as it's split into 3 parts, and anything after the first part I feel like is a big spoiler, so I don't want to go into too much detail. I do feel like it's a perfect summer read because it just engrosses you from the get-go and you're invested and you need to know what happens in the end. So yeah, again, thank you so much Sapphire for sending me this. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll leave a link to where you can get one of these for yourself down below. So the next 2 books that I want to finish on are 2 of the books I was actually reading at the time of George Floyd's murder and the subsequent protests, and I feel like these are 2 of some of the most important books that you can read at the moment if you want to educate yourselves. I will just say that me having this fantastic platform and you lovely viewers, I do feel like it is my responsibility to recommend you some books from authors of colour. I want to read more books from writers of colour and black writers. I have a lot that I have read, but there's also so much more that I need to read. So please, please, please give me your recommendations down below. On that, I want to talk a little bit about Brit Bennett's scarily accurate release of The Vanishing Half. Again, it's out in very early June. This is published by Dialogue Books. I'm very grateful for a copy, so thank you so much, Dialogue, for sending me a copy. So this book is set around the 1950s to the 1980s in America, and it follows two sisters, Stella and Desiree. They are identical African-American sisters. Right from the get-go, we see them described as polar opposites. Stella is much more bookish and somewhat dependent on her sister in ways, whereas Desiree is much more headstrong. And one night these girls up and leave their fictional town of Mallard, and they set out to make a life for themselves. So I feel like where this book really shines is how Stella essentially deserts her sister and begins to pass for white, and the book centres around the consequences and the impact that this has. Taking it a little bit more than necessarily just a story, I feel like this book really looks at the way in which passing for lightness and lighter skin is praised and celebrated, and most likely because of its intrinsic link with it being closer to whiteness. And this kind of theory manifests its way through the story in different scenes and people throughout the trajectory of these sisters' lives. And we meet these big characters along the way. These are overbearing characters, and Stella has to continue to kind of pass for white, and the effort that she has to go to maintain this. It's definitely a complicated issue, and there are many, many issues raised, but that's the one that really stuck out to me. And I feel like I use this book as much as a fantastic story, and the messages are woven into this so beautifully, but also I use this predominantly as an education tool. Being white myself, these are experiences that I've not had, and I want to know more about them so I know how to support people. This really helped me learn, as well as it being a fantastic story also about sisterhood and friendship. I've run out of words to describe how I feel about this book, and it's quite hard to concise them all down into short form video. I can't really recommend it anymore. I mean, if you just look at the fantastic glowing reviews this has had, you can see for yourselves, but I can't recommend this book anymore to you. The last book that I have to talk to you today about is You People by Nikita Lelani, which was published by Penguin Viking and was out earlier this year. So this book is set in a pizzeria called Pizzeria Vesuvio in the middle of London, and the majority of the people that work there are illegal immigrants. Two of the main characters in this is 19-year-old Nia, who is Welsh, and she has moved to London to escape her mother, who is a serial alcoholic. And then we also have Shan, who is from Sri Lanka, and he has left his family and moved to London for a hope of a better future, believing that he's going to be able to see his young child and wife again, only to realise that the people that sent him here on a trip are most definitely con men. What binds these two together is their feeling of overwhelming grief and realising what they've overcome to be in the situation that they are now. So Nia has left a home of abuse and neglect, and Shan has left his child and wife in hope of a better place. So they are racked with grief, and it binds them together and just weaves the story together so beautifully. Nia herself has not dealt with xenophobia and racism, so hearing it from the other characters, she sees how these people are being treated. I feel like Lelani writes like real people. She captures accents and mannerisms so acutely that this feels like a cinematic piece. They feel like real people. I mean, and the setting as well. I mean, it being called Pizza Vesuvio, you think of explosive and things going on behind the curtain and what's really lying underneath. I feel like there is definitely a metaphor there. I just found this utterly stunning, and again, I feel like it taught me so much in this intense Brexit political climate. I feel like I learnt so much. If you're looking for that kind of book, I can't recommend it anymore, but I just had a really fantastic reading month. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope everybody is staying safe and well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!